In this video we're going to look at the use of projects in PowerDesigner. Projects are a container for grouping together related models and other documents. They contain special project diagrams that illustrate the connections between models and also can support framework matrices, which allow you to follow modeling frameworks such as FIF, completing a matrix with diagrams, models, lists, etc. Here we have a model, and now I'm going to create a project to add it to. For now, I'll just create an empty project, though later we'll look at frameworks. Having created my project, I drag and drop my model into it. PowerDesigner does not automatically move the model on your file system. This model remains outside the project directory and is shown as a shortcut. I'll move it into the project. Now the model file is inside the project directory, and the symbol no longer shows it as a shortcut. Now I'm going to generate a PDM from the CDM to show you how the connections between the models will be shown in the project diagram. The PDM is generated and displayed automatically in the project diagram, connected to its source CDM by a generation link. You can create new models or add existing models or other documents in your project by using the tools in the project diagram palette. Let's take a look at a larger project to see how these diagrams can develop. The web library project contains about a dozen models connected together by mappings, references, generation links, etc. Now let's take a look at a project which is controlled by a framework matrix. PowerDesigner provides a predefined matrix for the Federal Enterprise Architecture, or FIF, framework, and you can adapt this or create your own to follow other popular frameworks such as Zachman or DODAF. This time I expand the frameworks list. My list doesn't have much in it, but you can populate yours by creating project templates that provide a starting point for your modeling projects, whether that be a group of skeletal models or a full-blown modeling framework with its own matrix. This time, when I click OK, PowerDesigner will create a FIF matrix that will guide me by structuring the models that I must produce to have correctly modeled my project. In the FIF and other frameworks, the rows of the matrix represent different perspectives on the data, while the columns represent types of data that must be captured. Here, as we descend the what column, we move from a list of business objects through a semantic or conceptual model, a logical model, a physical model, down into a data directory. PowerDesigner lets you create and attach all the models and other documents that the framework requires in the matrix, and stores all the underlying files together in your project. To add a document to a matrix cell, I click it to reveal the cell list, which is empty for the moment as I just created this project. To add a list of business objects, I click the New button. My list must be created in an existing or a new model, and here it is. I create a handful of entities and click OK. My list is attached to the cell and is contained within a CDM model in the browser. Now if I click the next cell in this column, I see a different type of action. This time I'm going to populate the cell by generating a model from the CDM I just created. I select it and access the standard PowerDesigner model generation window. I click OK and generate the model which appears in the browser. I just need to display the symbols and you'll see that the entities I defined in the list in the previous cell are now available on this level. And there they are. Now let's go back to the framework matrix and see how it is built. If you have permission to edit framework matrices, you can, at any time, right-click the top left corner cell and select to enter Framework Design Mode. You'll notice that now the corner cell has a small edit symbol, which indicates that you can access and change the underlying properties of the matrix. The matrix, every row and column, and every cell each have their own property sheet. Here I double-click the corner cell to open the matrix property sheet. The General tab defines the name of the matrix as it appears in the browser. You can create or delete rows and columns on their respective tabs, and also access their property sheets. Double-click a cell while in Framework Design Mode to open its property sheet, from which you control the content that can be placed there. The General tab gives the cell a name and specifies in which folder the content created there will be saved. In general, we create a folder for each column of the matrix within the project. Another important property is the Constrain Contents checkbox, which is selected by default and which restricts the content that can be attached to the cell to only those documents specified on the Actions tab. Let's take a look at that tab. Only one action is specified for this cell. Let's take a look at its property sheet to see what it does. The General tab specifies the name of the action and also includes the multiple checkbox that permits users to invoke the action more than once to attach multiple documents to the cell, and the mandatory checkbox which requires that at least one document of this sort is attached to the cell. The key properties for the action are on the Detail tab. This action is of type generation and allows the user to generate a CDM from the CDM which is located in the list of business objects cell above it in the matrix. The other types of action that can be defined include the creation of model diagrams, external application files, lists of objects, dependency matrices that show the connections between various types of model objects, or complete PowerDesigner models. In addition to controlling the actions that can be invoked in a cell, framework designers can change the format of cells using the standard PowerDesigner symbol formatting options. You can control the line and fill colors, the font, and also the image that is displayed in the cell. In this video we have seen a brief introduction to the use of projects and framework matrices in PowerDesigner. For more information, see the Core Features Guide.